Hey there, welcome back to In the Works, the podcast where we talk all about spirituality, personal growth, and self love. Thank you for being here one more week. And this episode may be especially for you if you're someone who have been putting in the work, trying to become the very best version of themselves and pushing forward, but somehow feel like it's still not enough. I have been there, especially because most of my life I have been an overachiever. And for a while, it worked. I was achieving, performing, and progressing a lot. But it came with a cost. And that was that at some point I lost joy in what I was doing. I lost the purpose. Even in something as simple as reading a book. I wasn't relaxing anymore. It became something like, how fast can I read this book? How many more self-help books can I finish? How can I use these to be better, do better, or grow more? I was constantly reaching, pushing, and optimizing until one day I realized that I was no longer reading to feel something. I was reading to fix something. And the same thing happened with movement. The workouts that used to feel like freedom started to feel like an obligation, like another box to tick in my to-do list for the day. Even when my body was exhausted, even when my heart wasn't in it, I pushed it. Anything less than more felt like a failure. And that's when I realized I wasn't living in the moment at all, and I was fully trapped in the gap. And that's what today's episode is about. The difference between living in the gap, where you always feel behind, unworthy, and like you are not enough, and stepping into the gain, where you recognize how far you have come and praise yourself for the hard work you have been putting in. So let's get into this. The gap is where most of our unconscious life rests. It's when you measure your current self against an ideal future version of yourself. A version that is stronger, richer, wiser, and more confident, more put together. But the problem with the ideal is that it's always moving. It keeps shifting every time you take a step forward. Let me give you a real life example. Last year, I have been training for months, lifting heavy, running fast, dialing all my nutrition, and I was feeling fitter that I have felt in a long time. But after one training session that didn't went perfectly, instead of feeling proud of myself for all the hard work and months of work that I have put in, I just felt like a completely failure. I felt like all that hard work was just in the bin, that I haven't been progressing at all just because I had a bad day. And I caught myself spiraling. Instead of feeling proud that I have even show up after a huge week at work and at uni, I was frustrated. Frustrated that I didn't hit a personal best. Frustrated that I wasn't yet where I wanted to be. And that's living in the gap. It blinds you from your progress. It makes you forget how far you have come because you are so obsessed with how far you still have to go. And it doesn't just show up in training. It shows up in relationships, money, career, and even in your healing journey. Like when you finally save $1,000, but instead of feeling accomplished, you stress because you don't have 20. Or when your partner does something kind for you, and instead of receiving it and being grateful, you think why they didn't did more. And that's what living in the gap does. It drops you joy and momentum, even when life is giving you 1,000 reasons to be happy and proud of yourself. So let's talk about the shift. The gain is when you stop measuring forward and start measuring backward. Instead of comparing yourself to who you should be, you reflect on who you used to be. You acknowledge the progress, you see the growth, and you celebrate the effort and not just the outcomes. Let me tell you how this looked like for me. When I started nursing school, I had no idea how I was gonna make it all. Studying, working, training, thinking about starting a podcast, it felt so overwhelming. And I decided to keep going. I adapted. I started getting used to how to manage the pressure. And I showed up even in the days where I was tired or I felt scared. And I remember one day after finishing my clinical placement, something that I saw really far from where I was back then. And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing it all. My podcast is live. I finished this now. I still keeping up with my work, with training like an athlete. And I was like, that aha moment of like, I'm doing it all. And even was not perfect because, of course, there was a lot of mess going around. I decided to, for first time, and putting a conscious effort into doing this, to be proud of myself, to be showing up in all those areas of my life. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but I was in the game. And that's the magic of the game. It brings you back into the now. It reminds you that you're already living the version of your life you once dreamed about. Because we live in a world that glorifies more. More achievements, more milestones, more hustle, more of everything. And trust me, I'm here for the growth. I love evolving and I love pushing my limits. But chasing without grace, without compassion, that's a dead end. One of the biggest lessons I have learned from this is when I was training for my first marathon. And that journey kind of like cracked me wide open, teach me heaps of things. But the main thing was that not every day was going to be a good day. Not every session was going to feel super smooth. There were days in my plan where I had to run 20 kilometers and I had crushed it. I have felt strong, alive, even euphoric. I was like, yeah, I got this. But then there was days where an easy 5-kilometer run will feel atrocious. My body felt heavy, my legs were sore, and my heart rate was through the roof. And then I will ask myself, why is this being so hard today? I thought I was getting fitter. Why am I regressing? What's happening? Then there were also days where I would be sick and maybe my body was screaming for some rest. And I still guilt myself up. I felt like I was falling behind, like I wasn't there yet. And I was completely ignoring how much work I have already put in because I was showing up. I was balancing study, work, podcasting, my health coaching, and training. I was doing everything I could do to become the very best version of myself. And yet, I was still dismissing it because one session didn't went perfectly. And that's what the gap does. But the gain says you're showing up, and that's what most matters. You're learning even on the hard days, and you're allowed to rest without shame. Living in the gain means giving that credit to yourself, even when it's messy. Especially when it's messy, because your growth isn't linear and perfection isn't the goal, but progress is. So, how do you shift from the gap to the gain? How do you step into the gain when your mind keeps trying to drag you back into the gap? It starts with simple internal reflection. Here's what I do. Every night, or even during the day when things feel overwhelming, I will ask myself, what's 3 things that went well today? What's one thing that I learned? And where did I show up even when it was hard? Some nights my answers will be big, like I had an honest conversation with someone that I didn't want it to because it was going to feel uncomfortable. I stuck to a boundary I have been working on, or I nailed it through a hard workout. Often, it's in the small things where the most power is. Things such as I trained just for 30 minutes because I didn't have more time, but I still feel happy I showed up today. I spoke kindly to myself through a stressful moment. I let myself fully feel in a moment where I was full of frustration or sadness, and I didn't hold that back. I finally went for that little walk I keep promising myself I will do. Or I simply put my phone down for a few minutes of presence. And all these ones are small wins, small gains. There is quiet in the discipline of self-honoring and of remembering that you're doing your best with what you have. And here's one more thing that I love doing. Especially after a rough day, I will do a gratitude list. Even if it's just 3 things. I will write down that I'm grateful for my breath, that I'm grateful I got to catch the sunset in my way back home, or that I'm grateful I get to rest this night to start again tomorrow and maybe try that thing that didn't work today. And that's it. You will feel how your energy begins to shift, how your heart starts to soften a little bit, and how sometimes you realize your ego was just making things bigger in your head. This is a reminder to be gentle with yourself. Do not let social media steal your joy from the small accomplishments. To celebrate that you moved your body like you promised yourself you will do. To celebrate that you got a little job promotion, even if you're not the director yet, still worthy. Celebrate that you show up for yourself this week. Or simply celebrate that you ate nourishing food for your body, that you're protecting your sleep hours, or simply sticking to your boundaries. Celebrate that run that you did last month and felt so hard, now feels with more ease. And celebrate that even if you're not where you want to be in your fitness journey, your body feels a little bit more strong than last week, a little bit more of life, and a little bit more full of vitality this week. Be proud of yourself. Because when you start doing that, it's when you regain your inner motivation and you start regaining the joy and purpose in life. The gain is always there. We just need to take a conscious moment to notice it. So if I want you to take anything from this episode, is that I want you to know that you are not broken, that you are not late for anything, that you are not behind, and that you are becoming. You're evolving through effort and through grace, through those tiny moments no one sees, but you show up for anyways. Let's finish with a few affirmations. And I want you to just let them sink into your heart and repeat it after me if you feel like. I honor my progress and not just my goals. I release the need to prove and embrace the beauty of the now. I am proud of who I am. I am enough exactly as I am. I trust the timing of my life, and I give myself permission to grow gently, and I give myself the permission to be vulnerable as well. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being in the works with me. Please share this with someone that you maybe think that they are being hard on themselves today. I want you tonight to take 5 minutes to sit with your gain for the day. Not the goals, not the pressure, just the quiet, powerful proof that you are growing even when it feels messy. I want you to feel proud of yourself today because you're doing a lot, and you should celebrate you every day and every second. Thank you if you made it this far in the episode. I'm going to see you next week. But in the meantime, I send you so much wisdom and love from my heart for you to become the very best version of yourself. With so much love and light, Lao.